Is that police manhunt for the suspect in the London chemical attacks. That well and truly underway today, and it comes after reports revealed that the suspect, 35-year-old Abdul Azidi, was convicted of a sexual offence in 2018. He was an asylum seeker. He was refused asylum twice, we've been told, before eventually being granted asylum 2 years ago after he'd been convicted of that offence.
Well, the Met Police have warned very seriously that we must stay away from him if you see him, because he injured so badly 12 people, including 5 police officers and 2 young children. Well, the suspect was last seen on the Caledonian Road in North London, we're told. And after that, we don't know where he is. Let's talk now to the former police officer, Harry Tangye, who joins us now. And a very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. I think everybody is just so shocked that this could have happened, because this suspect should never have been on the streets at all in the first place, should he?
No, and it's very difficult, isn't it? We desperately try not to look with in hindsight and things, but we don't know generally who people are coming into this country asking for asylum. He was refused twice. He got it the 3rd time. There's now the offence that he was involved in, sexual offence. I think it's widely reported as. So we don't know who is here, and we don't know if the numbers, of course, whether they're numbers of people, whether they're legal or illegal immigrants, is just overwhelming the system again. And I often thought, as a police officer, because I did deal with these people, I dealt with acid attack offenders and things like that. When you think in 2022, there were 710 attacks, I was hoping it was sort of reducing, and it was, and let's hope it still has. But we can't underestimate the viciousness of this attack. When you're talking about an extreme alkaline like caustic soda or an acid, like sulfuric acid, you're looking, look at the good people we know. Katie Piper, the presenter, from an ex-boyfriend, widely reported, and she's very bravely showing the issues with regards to that. And of course, Andreas Christoferis, who I believe in Cornwall, 60 operations for a mistaken identity. So it could be terrorist, it could be revenge. In my case, when we were dealing with it, fortunately, we got them within 12 hours. It was a drugs gang that were warring and taking it out on the opposition's family. So it was another mother and baby. So we don't know what it is with this case, I don't think, at the moment, and we should relay open. But it's very, very concerning, isn't it?
Harry, I mean, it's fascinating that you've dealt with cases like this, because what is the mindset of a criminal who is doing this act? Because it's not just about harming people, is it? It's this whole idea that people are being scarred for life. Which is a very odd mindset to say, well, I don't want to kill someone, I just want them to very publicly bear these wounds forever and a day.
Exactly, and it's very difficult. I mean, my brother is a primary school teacher in Norway. I think the most qualified primary school teacher in Norway. So he knows about psychology, and he says, Harry, I don't think there's evil people, but they do very evil things. And if you have somebody who's in a country who's witnessed horrendous things happening in front of them, it's not so much of a shift to bring it here. And I remember an overnighter when it used to be fisticuffs and the odd glassing on a nightclub in the evenings, but then it turned to knife crime straight away. And that was the Eastern Europeans coming, because it was something that they were socially, that was the culture they were used to, and it came into England. And of course, amongst that, there's some very decent immigrants coming in too, and we shouldn't forget that. But you only need to have a few, don't you? I think what it is, sometimes they don't even look at it. It's such hatred, it's revenge, or they want to show themselves to be the big people, you know, to say, well, they're after another organised crime, they need to get revenge, they're going to need to prove themselves, and they just shut that off completely. They don't think about what the results are. And as Andreas Christoferis said, when it was mistaken identity, when his door opened, when he opened his door, 60 operations, he said, I wish I had been shot instead. And when you're thinking, and we were taught as police officers, when you're dealing with these instances, these shirts that you wear, the black wicker shirts, there's very convenient for not having to iron, maybe, but they melt to your skin. And if you try to take that off, the skin will come with it. So this is really as nasty as you can get, and it needs to be hit with a sledgehammer to make sure this doesn't start getting worse from now on.
I think what was very remarkable as well about this terrible attack is how many bystanders and neighbours immediately wanted to help. And, of course, they themselves got burned in the process. But it's almost as though they knew what to do. And that was the first question I asked myself. If I was a bystander, would I know what to do? And the answer is water, isn't it? Lots and lots of water.
Knock on the door, get them in a cold shower and whatever is superb. Yes, you're talking about a woman, 31-year-old woman with her 8-year-old child, 3-year-old child, obviously, who's slammed to the floor a couple of times as well. So, and they've got possibly life-changing injuries. Police, 5 police officers. Of course, they've got to have hands-on. They've got to help, and that's going to be on their hands and things. Gloves are not going to protect them necessarily. Public, 4 times public, 3 women and a man involved. Isn't it wonderful to see the community of desperately trying to catch this man who then drove off in his car and crashed into another parked car and then had to go off on foot. So really lovely. I think Lambeth, wasn't it? But you still got that community, that human feeling for other people to say, these people need to be helped. And it's so easy nowadays with just walking on the other side, not wanting to get involved. But it's good to see a bit of humanity again, isn't it?
Yeah, but in the meantime, as you say, we've got a lot of people left reeling from this, and a lot of people not realising, as you mentioned, how many attacks with these corrosive substances that there actually are in the UK. They don't always make the headlines, clearly. How do we even begin to tackle this, do you think? I mean, I was wondering, do we need to make it harder to get hold of these substances, or is that not the answer?
I think it's... I don't think that's the answer. Bit like America with gun crime. I think we're shutting the door after the horse has bolted. It's already out there. We need these things to unblock your drains. Are you going to restrict those? In which case, it will be got hold of. I think if it was your youngsters and who were not really understanding the consequences and going that way, then that might work. But when you're talking, if it's involving gangs, if it's involving quite vicious, nasty people who are doing nasty things, they're very easy to get hold of, or something very similar. What is the answer? It's the ultimate question, isn't it? Because you can educate everyone, but they're the ones who don't want to be educated. They're going to use a gun instead. But to be honest, as Andreas said, he wished he'd been shot as well instead, even though perhaps the fatalities are less likely. With Katie Piper, what a hero she is. How she's shown, a beautiful woman who's had her face so disfigured, and I think, not being PC, she genuinely is still beautiful because her character shines through. But some people aren't that strong. They're not able to deal with that, and so you have the aftermath, which the police deal with, because I deal with road death as well. So I dealt with the humanity of, I went to over 150 road traffic fatalities, also the armed response side of things. So you got both those, and I dealt with people with road accidents, and they couldn't deal with what they were dealing with, and they took their lives. These are the things you don't hear about afterwards.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
It's the psychological effect. Are these with mothers involved? Are the kids going to have the same mother they had before, for example?